Welcome to Ida's video channel. In this video, I'll show you how to display variable cover in the profile view. In the previous exercise, I've shown you how to use the surfaces to display constant offset from the surface profile, but in this case, I want variable offset. And I will use a corridor for that. This tutorial is not about Civil 3D corridors, that they are used more for the roads, so I will run quite quickly through the exercise, but if you know a little bit about Civil 3D corridors, then you should be able to follow. I have a horizontal alignment for my bulk water pipeline, which I will use for the corridor, and I do have a surface profile as well, which I can use for my corridor. So now what I need to do, I need to create assemblies that will create feature line below the NGL surface. So I'm going to create assembly. So go to menu corridor, create assembly, or if you want, you can use a ribbon home, assembly, create assembly. I will call it cover 0.8 meters and then assembly other, that's fine. I will specify the location for it. Then I go and open tool palettes from the ribbon home, and under the generic, there's an option link vertical. And I want to use minus 0.8 because I want it to go down. As a point code P2 is fine, I will use it as it is. And this is my first assembly. Then I will do the second one. I will make a copy of this one, but when you make a copy, select only vertical line, nothing else, and use normal AutoCAD copy. And I use a F8, so it is nicely aligned. Then I go to assembly properties. So I selected assembly right, then I go to assembly properties, and I will use a cover 1.2 meters, like that. And then I click OK. Then I need to modify this subassembly. I can go to normal properties window and I can specify minus 1.8. Okay, the point code stays the same. And I'm ready to create a corridor. I can close tool palettes and I go to corridor, create corridor, or if you prefer using ribbon, go to ribbon home, corridor, corridor. Then I will specify the name. I will use cover. Under the baseline, I will use alignment and profile, bulk water pipeline, NGL Otara, and as assembly, I will use a 0.8 first. There is no target surface needed, and if I want, I can set baseline and region parameters, but I will do it afterwards. So I will take that off and I click OK. If I go to plan, you can see the yellow line, and if I go to 3D view, you can see that this is the corridor. So vertical link goes from the surface profile and then it goes down, and this P2 point is connected with the feature line. And now I want to add the different depth. I select the corridor, right click, and I go to corridor properties. There's also an option to go to tool space, corridor, right click on a corridor and go to properties. Then under the parameters tab, this is a place where you can split a region. So if you right click on a region, you can go to split region, and I want to split it at chainage 500. Enter. And once I hit enter, it jumps back and I have two regions. The first region goes from chainage 0 to 500, the second from 500 to whatever the chainage is. I will change the cover to 1.2. Then I click OK. I will zoom to chainage 500, which is somewhere here, and you can clearly see there is a vertical difference. I need to extract feature line from corridor. There are again few options how to do that. If you want to use a menu bar, you can go to menu corridors, utilities, grading feature line from corridor. If you prefer to use a contextual ribbon, you select the corridor, and then there is an option feature lines from corridor. Now it becomes a little bit clumsy. One option is to click on all, and that opens this window where you can extract the feature line. And this feature line goes from 0 to end. Before you do anything, just make sure under the settings that there is a dynamic link to corridor, because that's what you want. Okay, I'm happy. And as a style, I want something bright, so I will use a corridor red. Okay. And then I click on extract. So there is a feature line, but it is dynamically linked to a corridor. So it is auto corridor feature line. If I go to feature line properties, there is an option to see that there's a dynamic link. That's exactly what I want. And now I want to project it to profile view. So I go to top view, I select profile view, and then I go to project objects to profile view, and I will use selection cycling. Then I select the corridor feature line, auto corridor feature line, and then I hit enter, and it offers me to specify some properties such as style and elevations. I want to use the object elevation, and then I click OK. Let me zoom to profile view. This style is probably not the most suitable style, and I would also like to see where there is a change in vertical direction. And let's start with a style. Select the feature line, right click, and go to feature line style, edit feature line style. Then there's an option under the profile that you can change the vertex style to no display, and under the display in a profile you can also turn off those vertices as well, or markers, and if you do that you see just the line, and this is the place where there's that vertical difference. How do I know was the chainage is here? There's an option to display chainage values at the bottom of the profile view. Select profile view, right click, go to profile view properties. Then under the profile data band, go to right hand side, and there is a distance band in meters. Click add. There's an option to specify whether you want to display values at the geometry points, but that's not important for now, so I tick them off for the alignment as well as for the profile. Okay. And it means that the values will be displayed at every 100 meters for the major interval and 20 meters for minor interval. I don't want any gap between the profile view and profile view band. Then I click OK, and I have those values. And if I zoom in, this is chainage 500. If I zoom to plan, I can freeze the layer with the corridor. I have a few options how to deal with the corridor. I can either move it to a layer which says corridor auxiliary, but I'm not going to have any other corridor, I believe, here, so I can leave it in a layer corridor and freeze the layer corridor. And if I go to profile, the feature line is still there, and this feature line is dynamically linked to my alignment. So let me thaw that layer again, and let me adjust horizontal alignment. If I grab and change the radius, the feature line stays here, but you see the corridor is out of date. If I rebuild it, it updates and problem solved. And if I zoom in closer here, then it is updated again, no problem. And if I want to change the region, let's say I go to corridor properties, and if I want to adjust the region, let's say I don't want cover to be 0.8 up to chainage 500, I want a 0.8 up to chainage 200. So I can simply override the values here under the regions. Let me type it again and click OK. That will rebuild the corridor, and if I go to chainage 200, this is where the change is now. So it is dynamically linked to the corridor. You may also consider in your project that you create your corridor in a separate drawing and you can reference it into your destination corridor. I didn't test whether you can extract dynamic feature line from the reference corridor, but I believe it should be possible. So you should be able to do that to keep your design drawing as light as possible. If you want to turn off the cover feature line from the profile view, you can select profile view and go to profile view properties. Go to projections, and now you have two options. You would go to tick them off or feature line off, and then you would come back to turn it on. But unfortunately, this checkbox removes it from the profile view. I will show you how that works. And I believe this is a wrong implementation from the Autodesk side, because there should be column draw and you should be able to tick it on and off, but keep the projection in. So unfortunately, the first option won't work for us. But what you can do, you can set the style to no display. So I'm going to do that. Then I click OK. If I click OK, that feature line disappears from the profile view. And if I go back to profile view, I can change the style back to corridor red. Then I click OK and OK, and the feature line is back. Let me use the first option with a checkbox. I will show you how that works. So I will turn it off for now, then I click OK, and then I want to come back to Profile View Properties and I want to turn it on, but the projections disappeared. So what it means, I need to reproject the feature line to the Profile View. And if you want to delete the corridor with a feature line, you can just select corridor, and if it doesn't offer you the delete command because it is used somewhere else, that yellow triangle means that the corridor was used for some other entities or something else. In this case, we extracted a feature line which is dynamically linked to this corridor. So we would need to go to feature lines, delete the feature line first, which is here. So I can do that, I can select and delete. And then I would be able to delete the corridor. Or the second option is that I click select. It will select the corridor in a plan and I can delete the corridor. If I do that, the feature line still remains in a drawing. So if I want to delete it, I would need to right click and select it as well and press delete to remove it from the drawing. But I will undo because I don't want these changes. I might need to use this drawing in some of the future videos.